So the next topic is prolactin. It is secreted mainly from the anterior pituitary. We know that it stimulates milk production in the breast, right? Milk production by the alveolar cells of the ducts, okay? And which thing it inhibits basically GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. I already have told you previously, right? And when GnRH is inhibited, obviously ovulation in females would be inhibited and spermatogenesis would be inhibited in males, right? Because of the decrease in because GnRH will cause release in LH and FSH, right? So LH basically causes ovulation in females and FSH causes spermatogenesis in males. So that's why they both are inhibited. Prolactin, also you need to remember that wherever there was prolactin, there was also growth hormone, right? They both were basophils. So structurally, that is homologous to growth hormone, right? And also excessive amount of prolactin is associated with decreased libido. Then comes the regulation of it. Prolactin secretion from the anterior pituitary is tonically inhibited by which thing? Dopamine. From tuberoinfundibular pathway of hypothalamus, right? Dopamine. So dopamine basically inhibits prolactin. So prolactin in turn then inhibits its own secretion as well by increasing dopamine synthesis. So prolactin says that dopamine just increase synthesis of the dopamine increases. So that's why it inhibits its own secretion because dopamine is its inhibitor. Right, and TRH is basically thyroid releasing hormone that increases prolactin secretion. I already have told you in the previous lecture that TRH, thyroid releasing hormone, basically increases two things: thyroid stimulating hormone plus the prolactin, right? It has got stimulative effect on these two things. So TRH basically increases prolactin secretion. For example, in the primary or secondary hypothyroidism, dopamine has stronger effect on prolactin regulation than TRH does. This you need to remember. There are two things. Dopamine is inhibitory to this TRH, while dopamine जो है that has got inhibitory effect on prolactin, while TRH has got stimulative effect on prolactin. But which of the following effect is stronger as compared to the other? That is dopamine's effect. Okay, so it has got a stronger effect on prolactin regulation as compared to that of a TRH, right? That is thyroid releasing hormone. Okay, next is the dopamine agonists, for example, bromocriptine or cabergoline. They both, if come in MCQ, so they are, remember that these are the friends of dopamine. They are dopamine agonists. They inhibit prolactin secretion, obviously, and can be used in the treatment of prolactinomas, obviously. So dopamine antagonists, on the other hand, which are its enemies of dopamine, for example, most of our antipsychotic drugs, metoclopramide, right? These two things. Metoclopramide is basically a prokinetic agent, along with that of estrogens, for example, COCPs, oral contraceptive pills, and the state of pregnancy where estrogen is very high. These all things obviously stimulate prolactin secretion, obviously. And example of antipsychotic, phenothiazines. Okay, ठीक हो गया. This is all about the prolactin, and then you can see in the diagram as well, this higher cortical center inhibits hypothalamus. Hypothalamus releases two things, dopamine and TRH. Dopamine has got inhibitory effect, TRH has got a stimulatory effect. These two things. Then from the anterior pituitary, prolactin is being released, and you can actually see that prolactin causes inhibition of GnRH. So that basically GnRH has the FSH-LH positive effect. So these two things will get, and then prolactin ka function is milk production, right? And if it is renal failure, right, there would be reduced prolactin elimination, and that would also be a build-up of prolactin in the body. More milk production would be there. So it's like this. And some of the little MCQs which came in, past papers of FCPS Part 1, that pituitary microadenoma, if it's there, the best initial investigation would be prolactin levels, right? And also when there's hyperprolactinoma, that will cause decreased dopamine. Obviously they both are opposite linked with each other. Cause of amenorrhea is obviously GnRH decreased. Then prolactin raised with infertility. Then the cause is macroadenoma, bigger one. And when there is macro, or like a bigger one, not micro, that will be, the levels would be raised of 5,000. Okay, prolactin levels will be more than 5,000, then will be macroadenoma. Electrogenesis, that is milk production, is done by, this is by CPSP, that is FCPS Part 1 MCQ pool, that it is caused by cortisol, oxytocin and prolactin, these three hormones, right? Oxytocin causes milk secretion, right? Milk secretion, letdown reflex. And also this prolactin is inhibited by obviously estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so the next topic is thyroid hormone. right? So the thyroid produces the T3 and T4, two hormones which are iodine containing hormones, and they basically control body's metabolic rate. Okay, so we basically start from its synthesis. The follicles of the thyroid, right? From where this thyroid comes, this thyroid hormone comes from the follicles present in the thyroid hormone, right? Now there's a hormone 5' deiodinase, right? You can actually see this in the picture, 5' deiodinase, right? This basically converts T4, the major thyroid product, into T3 in the peripheral tissues, right? So peripheral conversion is inhibited by glucocorticoids, beta blockers, and propylthiouracil inhibits this peripheral synthesis, while it is stimulated by growth hormones and steroids. Okay, then you need to remember that the metabolically inactive byproduct of peripheral conversion is reverse T3, right? And its production is increased by growth hormone and glucocorticoids. Okay, you can see this reverse T3 hormone ki production is increased by growth hormone and steroid. Okay, then the functions of thyroid peroxidase enzyme. There is this basic enzyme which is thyroid peroxidase, which is responsible for oxidation and everything else. So what it does is this thyroid peroxidase enzymes function includes oxidation, organification of iodine, and then coupling of monoiodotyrosine, that is MIT, and DIT, diiodotyrosine, right? So basically this this is a follicular lumen, and this is a thyroid follicular epithelial cells. This is the blood, and these are the effector organs, right? In the follicular lumen, thyroglobulin is present, right? And that will combine with iodine, right, to combine basically Tg, and then through this is organification and coupling process, and then that moves into the thyroid follicular epithelial cells via endocytosis, right? And then proteases comes and cleave these structures and convert into T3, T4, right? Okay, so this thing, that is thyroid peroxidase enzyme, that its function is being inhibited by propylthiouracil and methimazole, right? So how is T4 is formed? That two DITs, that is diiodothyronine and diiodothyronine. Okay, two of them, they are di now, so 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, so they will make T4, and DIT plus MIT. M is mono, so mono plus di makes 3, so DIT plus MIT will make T3, right? T4 is formed like this and T3 is formed like this. What is Wolff-Chaikoff phenomena? Wolff-Chaikoff phenomena or effect is very important. So it is a protective autoregulation. Sudden exposure to excessive iodine temporarily turns off thyroid peroxidase. If a person gets a sudden exposure to excessive iodine, then what happens? The thyroid peroxidase enzyme, this enzyme would get turned off, and there would be decreased production of T3 and T4, right? Then the function of this, only the free hormone that is active. Okay, T3 binds with the nuclear receptors with greater affinity than T4. T3, right, it binds with the nuclear receptor with greater affinity, so affinity is greater of T3. Okay, also there are some of the important functions of T3. You need to remember this. All B's, 7 B's are there, right? Brain maturation, bone growth, along with that of GH and IGF-1, right? Beta adrenergic effects, like thyroid increases beta-1 receptors in the heart. That's why cardiac output, heart rate, stroke volume, contractility, all of the things are increased. And when beta blocker is given, they obviously decrease it. They obviously block this effect. Then basal metabolic rate, BMR, increases via what? Via sodium potassium ATPase pump, right? This pump is activity is increased, oxygen consumption would be increased, respiratory rate, body temperature would be increased. Also, it increases blood sugar levels. How? By doing glycogenolysis, breaking down glycogen stores, and gluconeogenesis, that is making new glucose, via which it increases blood sugar levels, right? Breakdown of lipids, like lipolysis, is increased. Also stimulates surfactant synthesis in babies, right? It stimulates surfactant synthesis in babies. So all of these B's are there. Okay, then regulation, TRH, right? The regulation is seen here. TRH is released by the hypothalamus. It stimulates TSH release, and that stimulates follicular cells in the thyroid gland, right? Now there are some antibodies that is called as thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin, TSIs, right? that may increase follicular cells in the Graves' disease. So you need to remember this TSIs, that is thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins, that increases this whole production. Right, that is why in the Graves' disease this the level of these immunoglobulin antibodies are raised. Negative feedback is primarily by free T3 T4. You can see this free T3 and T4, they have got this arrow upon here as well as here. They inhibits hypothalamus as well as pituitary, right, via negative feedback. Okay, next comes the TBG, that is thyroxine binding globulin TBG. It actually binds most of the T3 and T4 in the blood, and whenever it is bound, it is inactive. So you need to remember what happens in pregnancy. It is very much asked. This thyroid binding globulin is increased in pregnancy, right? That is why this will increase in pregnancy, also in the patients with OCP using like estrogen. So that will increase the total T3 and T4, because bound form, right, would be increased. If TBG would be decreased, that is in steroid use or nephrotic syndrome, because this is a protein. Thyroid binding globulin is a protein in the blood, so this protein would be decreased in nephrotic syndrome. Protein loss is there, and in a steroid use as well. So this would be decreased, and obviously the total T3 and T4 would also be decreased. T3 and T4 are the only lipophilic hormones with charged amino acids and require specific transporters to diffuse into the cells, that is via facilitated diffusion, right? So this is also MCQ, that facilitated diffusion, and that they are lipophilic hormones. That's why the receptors are located in the nucleus, right, that I already have told you. T3 के जो binds with the nuclear receptors with greater affinity. So their receptors are within the nucleus because they can easily cross the cell membrane, which is lipophilic in nature, and then comes within the nucleus by crossing its nuclear membrane as well. Okay, so the next topic is parathyroid hormone. What's its source? It's basically from the chief cells present in the parathyroid gland. These are basically the 4 glands which are located behind the thyroid. This was the thyroid gland, and behind there are these 4 small nodule type glands, right? These are the parathyroid glands, and its main function is basically calcium metabolism, calcium homeostasis, sorry. So the main function is that it increases free calcium in the blood. Its primary function, that is whenever there is hypocalcemia, decreased level of calcium in the blood, this parathyroid hormone gets activated, and by many different mechanisms it increases calcium levels in the blood, right? And then calcium is increased calcium and phosphate would be there by increasing the absorption of GIT system, right? Then bone resorption, from bone resorption also it increases calcium and phosphorus in the blood. Then from the kidneys there is opposite effect, like both the things are increased from GIT system and bone resorption, but in the kidneys calcium reabsorption is increased from DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule, which is after PCT, while phosphate reabsorption is decreased. Via what? Via PCT. So PP, phosphate in PCT is decreased reabsorption, while calcium reabsorption is obviously increased because we need more calcium in the blood, so its reabsorption is increased via what? Via DCT. You need to remember this point the whole life. This is very important point. And the next thing is that it also, what about vitamin D? So yes, it increases vitamin D. It is also in the PCT. So phosphate PCT decreases absorption, while the same PCT it causes increased vitamin D absorption, production. How? Increase 125 dihydrocholecalciferol, which is calcitriol production, by activating 1-alpha hydroxylase in the PCT, right? So this hormone is also very important, 1-alpha hydroxylase. Next is this thing. So we know that parathyroid hormone, it increases serum calcium levels, decreases serum phosphate levels. Why? Because main kidney effect, that basically was decreasing phosphate absorption in the PCT. So decreases phosphate, and obviously serum phosphate will be decreased and more will go into the urine, so urinary will be increased phosphate, and also along with that of phosphate, cyclic AMP will also go, so urinary cyclic AMP will also be increased. But in the serum only one thing is increased, that is calcium. Okay, rank L, this is basically increased. It is basically a receptor activator of NF kappa B ligand, right? It is a receptor activator of NF nuclear factor kappa B ligand, and this more rank ligand will be increased. It is secreted by osteoblasts and osteocytes in the bones, and this ligand actually binds with rank. This is a receptor, this is a ligand, this is a receptor. It will bind in the receptor. Where is this receptor? On the osteoclast, that is bone resorption cells, right? and their precursors to stimulate osteoclast, because we need bone resorption. Look here, the bone resorption, like bone eating. It is done by osteoclast, right? We know that on osteoclast there is rank receptor upon which a rank ligand will get attached, okay, and increases calcium. So stimulate osteoclast and increase calcium. So bone resorption would be there. Intermittent parathyroid hormone release can also stimulate bone formation. Okay, so PTH is a phosphate trashing hormone. Phosphate will get decreased. PTH related peptide functions like peptide, and it is commonly increased in malignancies. For example, squamous cell carcinoma of the lung and renal cell carcinoma, where PTH-RP is increased. Calcium is a major regulator of PTH release. Right, what about the regulation? So obviously calcium hypocalcemia will lead to more of a parathyroid secretion, obviously, while phosphate hyperphosphatemia, blood में phosphate ज़्यादा हो, that will lead to more PTH secretion. And how more PTH secretion? Calcium is directly related to magnesium. Remember this. We know that calcium decrease will lead to more PTH, so magnesium release will also lead to more PTH. But very low magnesium will cause a decreased PTH secretion, opposite effect of very low serum magnesium. The less serum magnesium, in which conditions this occurs? Less serum magnesium in patients with diarrhea. So PTH would be released, PTH would be secreted. In patients taking aminoglycosides or any kind of diuretic, or he or she is using alcohol, in these conditions magnesium will be decreased. It will lead to PTH increase, just like calcium. Okay, that was very simple. I made it really simple for you guys. And then this thing I already have told you, but let's revise. PTH, okay, it does is it decreases ionized calcium, increases phosphate, and decreases vitamin D3. Right? How? So PTH activity. Okay, so these all things actually, this is PTH activity, and these all things which I already have told you, right? They basically stimulate parathyroid gland. PTH is released into the circulation, and then it will go in many of the things, like when it will go to the renal tubular cells, this PTH, that will increases this synthesis, vitamin D, increases calcium, decreases phosphate reabsorption, urinary calcium will be decreased, but phosphate will be increased. I already told you everything there, right? Also in vitamin D activity, like PTH basically induces the hormone 1-alpha hydroxylase, that is responsible for conversion of 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol into 125, which is an active form. And that vitamin D will go into the bones, increase its calcium, and increase phosphate release from the bone. Release bone, matlab bone ki resorption karani hai, and in the intestine it will increase. In the intestines, both the things absorption will be increased, right? Already I've told you. And the net result would be obviously serum calcium increased, and serum phosphate, serum calcium and phosphate would be increased, right? The net result would be this. Okay, you need to remember this. This was the parathyroid gland. Next we will discuss about the other things, like the other hormones, like about obviously calcium homeostasis, calcitonin, glucagon, and much more, inshallah. So stay tuned. Okay.